Like moths to a flame, cities have always attempted to seduce us with bright lights. And within the bustling neon canopy of the metropolis, they offer us opportunities, activities, amenities, all the ease you could ever dream of, in exchange for barred windows, a lung full of noxious gases, and crippling housing bills. Hello, my name is Jonah Primo, and welcome to the Overexamined Life. Today, I'm going to over-examine life as a city boy. I've lived in Sydney most of my life. Sydney is a great city, but I pay a high price to live here. And I don't just mean financially, although the cost of living in Sydney is absurd. I mean, I pay a spiritual price. Big, rich cities operate at a different pace. Even those who live in other Australian cities like Melbourne or Brisbane sometimes find Sydney's pace a little confronting. People, in my opinion, don't smile at each other the way they do in many of the other places I've traveled to. It's more individual, more anonymous. When you walk through a busy street, people feel like ephemeral coagulations of visual noise rather than human beings. They don't seem conscious or alive. They seem like they're part of the scenery as you travel from A to B, attempting to solve your own important problems. It's impossible to process the fact that the evanescent people drifting through your periphery have their own hopes, dreams, families, and problems. And how different is that from when you live in a small community and when you interact with only two people in a given day? Sally down at the corner store who loves ancient history, and Billy the postman who sculpts giant horses out of driftwood in the evenings. When there's time to breathe, there's time to engage with the full width of another life, the entire surface area of another world. In the city, there's no time to breathe. In fact, we hold our breath because we don't have time to waste it on a stranger. Now, that's not to say community doesn't exist in cities, but it's far more considered. It forms around hobbies, interests, jobs, universities, rather than organically manifesting from open space. And the other thing that is considered is nature, and that's not natural. In cities, nature doesn't spring forth from the earth in a chaotic verdant explosion. It is zoned and circumscribed. We have to campaign for our green spaces. And when you live in a city, you very easily forget that once upon a time the world was only green spaces. We live on top of each other, and that's normal. I live on a 126 square meter property. That's about 1,300 square feet. I share that property with another human, so I really only have 63 square meters to myself. And in the area that I live, that's pretty good. In fact, that's enviable. I'm in a privileged position. But in the city, we talk in meters and feet. Leave the city, and they talk in hectares, acres. It's hard to comprehend the scale. To own one cow, you legally need to give it 5,000 square meters. So that one cow would have 80 times more space than I do. And that's the bare minimum. That's a cow who's down on her luck. Now, of course, the upside there is I don't have to worry about being eaten. That's a big upside. But I do have to worry about being robbed. We put bars on our windows and double lock our doors. Fear is another thing we have to wrestle with while we attempt to shut the world out. We shut the world out with headphones, which provide a reprieve from car horns and ambulance sirens, which are constant. Because it's easier to listen to music than to think about the fact that every 5 minutes, someone in your immediate vicinity is having the worst day of their lives. And it's easier to look down at a phone on the train than at a meth head who is shouting at their own reflection. The number one rule of cities is don't get involved. You can search YouTube and find videos of central London where actors are pretending to have heart attacks or seizures, and literally hundreds of people are walking by without helping. It paints a dark picture of society. Now, at the same time, isn't it funny that I'm obviously not willing to give any of this up? If I was, I would have. Despite all my complaints, my actions speak for themselves. And the truth is, I like that there's always a new bar to try. I like that the best bands in the world come to me instead of me having to go to them. I like that I can walk into a cafe and everyone will look different from each other. I like that whatever the hell I want to do, I can do. If I need a gym that simulates high altitude mountain biking, or a pub that serves blue pizza, or a Texas Hold'em poker tournament for furries, I can invent that wish on Monday morning and be cashing in a straight flush dressed as a purple raccoon by Monday night. In the cities, you want it, we got it. We've also got jobs. Now, that doesn't matter to me so much as a remote worker, but I like hanging out with my friends and my family who need a city to excel in their field. But the truth is, I increasingly wonder if the benefits do in fact outweigh the costs. I'm seeing my fellow millennials take part in a mass exodus out of inner Sydney. In fact, out of Sydney in general. And partly I think this is born of financial pressure, and that pressure is magnified by many people my age transitioning from couples to young families. But I think there's something else going on as well. I'm hemorrhaging friends who wanted out, got out, and haven't looked back. And when they left, they didn't say, we're leaving the city because we can't afford it. They seemed to be saying, we're just sick of the city. So it raises the question, just because I've been living this way all my life, should I assume it's best practice? Would the simplicity of rural life outweigh the diversity of city life? Would the ambulatory nature of a country town breed personal growth and provide space for contemplation? Or is the electric pace of the metropolis the very thing keeping me from going insane? Would Sally at the corner store explaining the fall of the Byzantine Empire become something I started to look forward to? Or would I start to pull out my hair and scream, for the love of God, woman, just give me my Diet Coke? I don't know. My vision of a rural life is at once nostalgic, romantic, beautiful, and a little boring. But really, I am so completely clueless about everything outside my tiny, terrifically dense bubble that even imagining life outside the city is going to paint a fantastic portrait of my own ignorance. So I'm going to attempt to find out a little more about what life is like for people living very, very different lives from mine. I do hope you'll join me on Thursday for some time with some wonderful guests who are going to help this city boy leave the city. So make sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss out on that. They are fantastic characters. My name is Jonah Primo. This is the Overexamined Life. See you next time.